Now, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. So let me explain. First off, it's free. I'm not joking, you guys. The Anchor app, it is free to use. Second, there's creation tools that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Now that's awesome, isn't it? Third, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere, you guys, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and so many more platforms. Fourth, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum relationship. Now, is that awesome, you guys, or what? That's just terrific. And finally, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So I have another podcast with Anchor, and I'm just loving Anchor so much. I love it. It's so very easy to use, guys. So why don't you download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. What's up, you guys, and welcome to the official podcast of Damian Talks Education. So listen up. I am here to talk about all things education on my podcast. So get prepared for some realness and honesty of education as I walk you down through various of topics that's happening in the education world with some amazing guests, to sharing stories relating to education and so much more, because I got you covered with education. So join me on this journey of education with me. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Damian Talks Education. We're back with new episodes. Now on tonight's episode, I have on a guest, so let me tell you guys all about this person who is a National Certified School Psychologist who is currently working in the Naperville School District and has dedicated his life to inspiring youth, changing lives, and making a difference in the field of education and also mental health. And we will also be discussing that in our discussion. Of course, education, race, racism, and also mental health. So everyone, please welcome on to Damian Talks Education, Mr. Chris Colson, and let's bring him on now. Let's see if I could get him on here. This work. Hello.
How's it going?
It is going great with me. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming on to my podcast. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
No, yes. So let's get started here of you introducing yourself.
My name is Chris Colson. I currently work as a school psychologist in the Naperville School District, high school district. This is my third year as a school psych. Currently, I'm working on my doctorate degree with an emphasis in organizational leadership, with the emphasis in K through 12 leadership. So that's currently what I'm doing now. And so my thing is just helping students, not only mentally but also educationally in the school districts, to be to kind of put them in a position to be successful. It's kind of what I'm currently doing. So
Yes, absolutely. So I want to ask you this: what got you interested into the field of education in the first place?
I think what got me interested was I wanted to have an impact on students, not only in the mental health field, but also educational wise. And that's how I figured that was the best way for me to be able to not only have impact on the mental health side, but also on the educational side as well. Um, and so after looking into it, it was something that, interested me and what I wanted to get into. So that's kind of how I ended up kind of going in the field of, of school psych, and kind of, where I'm at today.
Yes, and speaking on education, I want to know this from you because there's a lot of work that needs to be done in our education system. So, if you could do anything to like improve or make things better, what would you possibly do to fix our education system better?
I think first and foremost, we need to have more resources for our students. I think that's a major area that I think that some schools are kind of failing in, is not having the resources for our students. Um, and that kind of goes a long way, and kind of put them in a position where they can have the things that they need. So I think providing more resources is the biggest area. And I think also just trying to focus on the students that falling through the cracks. Some students kind of get overlooked, and so I think having a better system in place that kind of make sure students aren't kind of going by the wayside. Because you depending on the school you're in, it could be a big school. Some of those students who actually need that support may kind of get overlooked. So I think having a system in place that really is there to kind of catch those students who need that support. So I would say resources is the main thing, and then also having the system inside the school that can be there to support our students.
Absolutely. Now, we are still in this pandemic here, so, and we're still doing virtual distant learning. So, how is that going where you are at, and how are you liking it? And do you think once this pandemic is all over with, we will still be doing virtual learning into our classrooms?
I think as far as the district that I'm in, it's gotten better over time. I think I was in a different district last year, and I think it kind of caught us kind of off guard. So we weren't as prepared. But I think coming into this school year, knowing that we were going to be in this virtual environment, we were able to put things in place to help students. But I think it's been going well for the most part. Obviously, kids are more kids learn better when they're actually in the classroom. So, I think we're doing as best as we can, to kind of support those students, even in the virtual environment. Um, so it's been getting better, as you go, you figure out things that aren't working, things that, are working. So you kind of try to, work those kinks out. So it's been going well. I think after, kind of work through this pandemic, I don't think that we will, I think we will be back in the classroom. I think there may be a virtual piece that may still be there. But I think for the most part, students will be back in the classroom because there's been so many studies and things that shows kids are most successful when they're actually in the classroom with that face-to-face learning. So I think we will be back in the classroom, but there may be some a virtual piece to it still there though.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to ask you this here with 2020, what a year that was for all of us. With we had all the protests happening, the police brutality, racism, we had all of that. So, what was your thoughts on all of what happened back in 2020? What was your thoughts on all of it?
Um, I think it was a lot at once, and I think being in the midst of a pandemic kind of allow people to a brighter light to be shown, to be able to be shined on what was actually going on, because kind of like the world was kind of standing still in the midst of a pandemic. People weren't able to do the things that they were usually doing, so it really put a bigger light on kind of what was going on, so people were able to kind of see firsthand kind of some of the things that were happening. So I think it was a lot at once, but it also gave people the opportunity to really see what is actually going on. Because sometimes things that happen get pushed under the rug, or don't really get as much attention. But I think during the pandemic, it really was that chance that people can actually see what is really going on in our world with the racism, racism and the the injustices that are going on. So it was unfortunate, but I think a positive that we were able to take out of it is that people couldn't kind of push it away. They had to see what was going on and kind of um, figure out how we can kind of get through it because we weren't doing able to do things that we were usually doing, so we had no choice but to actually sit there and really address the issues.
Right. Totally agree with you. Totally agree. Now let's move on to talking about racism, which all happened back in 2020. So back in 2020, and then looking on to this year as well, what does it mean for you of being a black man in America today? Because the police officers, they see us as a threat all the time. We can't quite do nothing, walk down the street, or even jog or do anything. So, what does it mean for you of being a black man in America?
I think we have a lot going against us, just being black and also being a black male. Um, I think we have to kind of navigate throughout the world kind of a little bit differently, just because some of the things that have been going on. Um, so I think just being mindful of kind of of who we are and kind of what's going on to try to um, stay out of those situations that might lead to some things that's happened in the past. But I mean, we're trying to, as a just as a society, just work towards kind of moving past some of those systemic racism and the injustices that's going on. I think it's is is our job to keep pushing that envelope to let people know that we're still dealing with racism in 2020, and now we're in 2021. It's still prevalent. And it's something that we need to continue to address going forward, because that's the only way we'll be able to move forward, is to address it and put it out there. So yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Now, what conversations have you been having with other people around you, your white friends perhaps? And then what do you think, what conversation should we be having with our white friends of talking with them about racism and trying to get them to understand of where we are, because they quite don't understand our story. They give out to us like false information, which it's not right. So what do you think, how should we be having the correct way of the conversations with our white friends?
I think it's important to let them know that they should be doing their research. It shouldn't be up
Right.
to us. It shouldn't be up to us to educate them um, when they can go out and figure out this information on on their own. Because it's one thing for me to tell you, then it is for you to actually go out and research it. So I think just letting them know that if they really want to um, you know be educated, that they should go out there and do the research, um, because it's out there. And I think it means more when they actually go and do it than us trying to tell them how we feel and kind of what we've gone through. I think it's more meaningful for them to actually put in the work and figure out how can they um, incorporate things in their life to kind
Right.
of people always say it's not enough to just be not racist. You have to be anti-racist. So
Mhm.
I think if they take that approach, I think it'll go a long way in kind of moving past kind of some of the things that we're going through. So I think if they just take the initiative to really try to figure out how they can get into research and figure out how they can put things in place to support, kind of the things that we're trying to push forward.
Absolutely. And I believe that if, and I'll talk with most of my friends about this of if you want to have a conversation with me about racism, the Black Lives Matter movement, whatever, that's fine. But you need to come to me already do you have already done your homework, because if you come to me and we start having the conversations and then you just giving me false informations, incorrect facts, then I cannot continue on with the conversation with you until you have did your homework and you know how to have it the correct way with me, because I'm going to have it the right way with you and not the wrong way. So that is just me personally there. That is just
Right.
me. So yeah.
And yeah, I don't mind having the conversation. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to be there to educate you. One thing I've heard, and it's kind of a quote that stood out to me, is like, it's not the job of the oppressor to educate I mean, not the job of the oppressed to educate the oppressor. So it's not my job to educate you. You should be going out trying to figure out how you can educate your own self, because that's the only way that we'll, move forward, with this whole race issue, is if they put in the work to actually figure out how they can, be part of the change. So,
Yes, absolutely. Now I want to go on to this here. You have previous experience working in the mental health field as a crisis counselor and a mental health provider, and your goal is to continue to activate for the awareness um, of our youth, as well as to increase the mental health in the minority community. So, why don't you tell us the importance of mental health and what does it mean for you and your work with it?
I think just mental health is very important, especially in the African American community, because it's something that I think is overlooked. And I think, just in the African American community, we're dealing with a lot of things, dealing with the, society, dealing with the racism, dealing with the injustices. Um, and I don't think people really understand how that affects our mental health. So I think it's very important to be aware of your mental health and kind of know where you're at. Um,
Right,
and I know just from my past experience, there's this stigma, with when it comes to African Americans and therapy and whatnot. And so I think just keep moving past that, and just being aware of kind of how I'm feeling, how you're
right,
feeling, and knowing that our mental health plays a huge role in how we relate to others, and kind of how we go through our daily life. So I think it's important to continue to just push just mental health, just the awareness, letting people know that it's okay to go see go get therapy. It's okay to see a counselor, and that it's not that you're weak, and not that something's wrong with you. It's
right.
it's something that we all need at some point, and it's trying to kind of take that stigma off of it that has been put there. And I think once that's gone, more people would be willing to kind of go to therapy and um, kind of go to someone to work out some of the things that they've experienced, the things, the traumas that they've been through. So I think it's important to just kind of continue to push that positive side of of therapy, and mental health, because it plays a huge role.
Exactly. Now, why do you think us black men, we don't like to talk about our struggles and our pain? We don't like to talk about it all. We don't want to talk about mental health. Why do you think that?
I think just sometimes it's how we were raised. Just being a man, you feel like you have to, you can't show emotion. You have to be strong. You have to kind of just take on everything and just kind of put on your back and keep going. So I think that's the big reason why just African American males aren't really interested in going to therapy, because they feel like, oh, I got it, you know um I can take care of it, I don't need to go talk to anybody. So I think it's just kind of how society kind of puts that on, you know that you have to be strong, you have to you know deal with it, and be a man. So I think that's part of the reason why um it's kind of hard to um, that you don't see a lot of African Americans willing to go to therapy. And then not only is it that stigma is also, you're going to therapy is, is you're being vulnerable,
Yeah.
um, and a lot of times, the therapists out there, don't look like us, you know.
Hmm.
So it's not like you're actually now you're being vulnerable, but you're also being vulnerable to someone who may not even understand what I've been through or understand what kind of we go through. So that's another piece of it. That's what we're trying to push more Black therapists, just to get to kind of, people can feel comfortable going to them because may have some things in common. But it's harder to do that when I'm sitting in front of someone who doesn't look like me or doesn't understand what I've been through. So
Exactly, exactly on that. Now, since today is January the 1st, is the new year, so Happy New Year to you. Um,
Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you. What are you looking forward to into 2021?
Um, I think the biggest thing, I'm working on my doctorate degree now, my dissertation. So that's my kind of my biggest thing for this year. Um, is to kind of make more progress on that. And I think just just becoming more aware of kind of what's going on, figuring out how I can do my part, um, and just figuring out how to support those around me. With the pandemic still going on, I think it's important to make sure that you're checking on others. Making sure that people that's in your circle have that support. So um, I just I'm just looking forward to new opportunities. In 2021. Whether it be educationally, whether it be career wise, or just things that I want to do on my personal life. So that's kind of some of the things I'm looking forward to in 2021.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to come and chat with me on tonight. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, where can my listeners follow you on social media when this is posted later onto my YouTube channel?
So my handle for all of my social media is I am underscore Colson. So IAM underscore COLSON. That's how you can find me on Instagram, Twitter. The Facebook is under my name, Chris Colson. Um, so that's where you can find me at.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and chat with me, and you take care of yourself.
All right, you too. Thank you, and have a
Yes.
good year.
You too as well.
Thank you.